Actress Charlize Theron went ham on Donald Trump and Jeff Bezos, and the MAGA right is not very happy about it. And I also have some clips of Tim Burchett grabbing a man's ass. And I also have, I think, what is a really smart analysis of what Donald Trump and the Republicans just did to their own base. But let's just watch this very strange clip of Tim Burchett grabbing another man's ass. It's so funny to me that they are anti-gay, anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ+, but then they're doing this homoerotic shit like this. Watch. Oh, there it is. What is that? What is that? These are not very sophisticated people. Here he is saying that we'd be speaking Mexican and then quickly correcting himself, saying we'd be speaking Spanish.
Maybe Tennessee Orange. You know, that's what
I'm
Davy
sorry.
Crockett.
I thought you said UT.
He got beat for. I did, the real UT, and there wouldn't be any of that if it wasn't. Y'all be speaking Mexican, it's Spanish down there. Look, Davy Crockett got beat for Congress. He said, you can all go to hell. As for me, I'm going to Texas. And he ends up getting killed, but he did get a Disney special out of the deal, so it kind of evens out, I guess.
All right, yeah, these people are just idiots. And by the way, I am on not like a little vacation, so the content's going to look a little different than it normally does, but I definitely want to keep bringing you updates. So please be a little forgiving about the look of the content for the next few days. I am doing this from a hotel with the podcast mic and my laptop, but the news never stops, and nor will I. And so I also have this clip of Donald Trump being super racist. But let's go into this. Let's go into this analysis from Dan Pfeiffer, because Tim Burchett is laughing. He's grabbing men's asses. Donald Trump did this, they do the celebration tour. This is not good. And when I read this, I was like, oh, this is very smart. I wish I had come up with it, but I haven't, but I'm going to read it to you. Here's what Dan Pfeiffer says. The GOP just passed the most unpopular piece of legislation in history. It could not only cost them the majority, but it might be a generational political error that could blow up at the Trump coalition and reshape politics for the foreseeable future. How's that for hope? He also goes on to say, everyone thinks Trump has remade the GOP in his image, but slashing healthcare and food stamps to pay for tax cuts for the rich is something Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney would have done a decade ago. So that's also some good insight too, that what Donald Trump is doing here is very Republican, like it's very based in republicanism. Back in Paul Ryan's day, cuts to Medicaid and SNAP primarily hurt Democratic voters, but the coalitions have shifted dramatically since then to Trump in 24 that will bear the brunt of this bill. So the GOP coalition is more working class and is relatively poorer than how Democrats are now. In 2012, Obama won voters who made less than 50K by 28 points. Romney won voters who made over 100,000 by 10 points. But that flipped in 2024. Trump won voters who made less than 50,000 by a margin of 2, and Harris won voters who made over 100,000 by a margin of 4. Insane. No party has ever launched such a full frontal assault on their own voters. If Dems can inform voters and establish credibility as a party that fights for working class people, we can win back some of these working class voters who fled the party in recent years. By passing a bill that will kick his own voters off their health care and food assistance, raise their costs, and close the hospitals in their communities, Trump and the Republicans have made a massive miscalculation. The only question is whether we can make them pay for it. I think we can. Do you think we can make them pay for it? That is my hope. Charlize Theron's doing the work for us. Here she is, going ham on Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump over these insane policies.
Here in Los Angeles, in the U.S., and across the globe,
We're moving backwards fast. Immigration policy is destroying the lives of families, not criminals. Women's rights are becoming less and less every day. Queer and trans lives are increasingly being erased, and gender-based violence is on the rise. This isn't just policy, it's personal. All of this is not just detrimental, it's dangerous. People will lose their lives. Many have already, unfortunately, and at a frightening rate. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see this kind of unnecessary suffering. But what we also see, what we cannot miss, is the resistance. There is hope. There is power in all of us standing up, organizing, protesting, voting, and caring for each other, and refusing to accept that this is the new normal. That spirit of resistance, justice, and care for each other, that's the spirit that drives the work at CTAOP. Everyone should have the right to be healthy and safe and should be able to be seen.
Absolutely, and I think it's so important that we have super rich people saying things like that, super wealthy people who have nothing really to lose and everything to gain from embracing fascism in the near term, but she's not. She's actually calling it out, and she also called out Jeff Bezos, saying that, I think we may be the only people who did not get an invite to the Bezos wedding, but that's okay because they suck and we're cool. I love that. I love that. Donald Trump, something I don't love that Donald Trump did was that he came out and said, just doing like old school racial slurs.
But if you love them or if you love somebody that you're leaving it to, think of that. No death tax, no estate tax, no going to the banks and borrowing from, in some cases, a fine banker, and in some cases, Shylocks and bad people. But they...
So a Shylock, for those who didn't know, primarily refers to the character in Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice, a ruthless Jewish moneylender who demands a pound of flesh as a payment of debt. Beyond the play, Shylock has become a derogatory term for a loan shark or someone who lends money at excessive interest rates. The term is often considered anti-Semitic due to its association with Shylock's character in the plays of depiction of Jewish stereotypes. Nice. The President of the United States is just being straight up anti-Semitic on the national stage. And here he is saying that Iowa, the bill that they passed that is going to hopefully destroy their base, their base of support, is going to rescue over 2 billion family farms. He does say billion.
And very importantly for Iowa, this bill rescues over 2 billion family farms from the so-called estate tax or the death tax. In other words, before Trump, you will...
We don't have to keep listening to him lie, but yeah, so he's mentally deranged, he's being anti-Semitic, he's a bigot, but at least we have folks like Charlize Theron calling him out. And I do think what Dan Pfeiffer said is true, that this is going to be a sea change in the electorate if we can all remember to remind folks who caused all this, because they're going to want to blame Democrats. We can't let them. Don't let them. Thank you for watching. Please bear with me as we do this more lo-fi version of the show while I'm in a hotel room in New York, and I'll see you next time.